If you're thinking about moving to Hickory, North Carolina from out of state, this is the video for you. We know the process can feel overwhelming, especially if you're buying from hundreds of miles away. I'm Helene Cote, and along with Stephanie Hefner, we are the signature home team brokered by eXp Realty, located in Hickory, North Carolina, and serving all areas nearby. Today, we're chatting with one of our favorite local lenders, Migon Drummond from First Coast Mortgage, to walk you through what you really need to know to make it a smooth move. We'll be talking about financing, timelines, and the most common questions we get from buyers relocating to our area. So let's dive in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you could join us. So let's see, why are so many people moving to Hickory right now? Um,
Well, North Carolina is one of the top 5 states in the US that people are relocating to for lots of reasons, for jobs, cost of homes being super affordable, and really quality of life.
yeah. We know we've had a lot of clients coming from New York and California and Florida especially, but we've seen buyers coming from other areas, even the surrounding states. What have you been seeing with clients coming to you, Megan?
Well, most of them are just, a lot of them are relocating if they have to be buying, and moving. So that's mostly what we see. A lot of people we've had a lot from California lately.
Yep.
They're looking, certainly the cost of living is
Yeah.
really driving everybody here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what are the first steps someone should take when buying from out of state?
Well, the first thing they always want to do is talk to a local lender and look at the pre-approval process. So for the pre-approval process for them, it's again evaluating, are they selling their current house or are they going to be just moving from rental to a new home? So that's the first thing that they really want to evaluate. What kind of cash do they have to work with? Do they have a relocation program that they can leverage as well? So from there, they're going to just give us a call. We're going to talk about what the what they're, do a soft credit pull, look at their income. Most likely they're going to have a new job. So with a new job comes new income. So a lot of times we're just going to look at those key components and, pull their credit, take a look at everything, make sure they've got cash on hand or cash from a sale of a property. And that's going to help them figure out what they're going to qualify for and then again, what their payment will be.
So on that vein, and I know I've worked with buyers that have kind of had this issue come up, when someone is relocating and maybe not with the same employer, maybe they're coming to work for another company. What does that look like on your end? I know that there can be some hurdles there. What do you do to work to overcome those things?
Well, if they're relocating, they're going to be either getting a new job or they're going to be transferring with their existing job. So, in both those cases, they are always going to need like a relocation letter or a offer letter. So, if they're going to a new employer, that new employer is going to give them an offer letter. We want to make sure that that doesn't have any probationary language in it, like, hey, this is going to be, you should going to be on a 90-day trial, or this offer is subject to you passing a drug test when you get here and things like that. So we want to make sure any probationary language has been removed by them already meeting those criteria. Then if it's simply a job transfer, they're with the same employer. Again, they're going to have an offer letter that states this is where they're going to be, their new income structure. So transferring always is always a little bit easier, but those
Right.
are always the things that we're going to look at.
Yeah. I know sometimes, there's struggles because a lot of lenders want, at least two pay stubs and that sort of thing. And that can be hard if you're moving from out of state because, if you haven't started that new job yet.
Yeah, so that's why we need the offer letters. The offer letters always help with that. And then, of course, as soon as they get here, yep, we want you to start working and get a paycheck. But a lot of times we can just use that offer letter or that transfer letter.
Okay, great. So how is financing different, if at all, from for out of state buyers?
It's really not. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're going to find that North Carolina has, you know, lower taxes and probably lower cost of properties, so it's going to be much more affordable for them. That's what I hear a lot. Is
Mhm.
like, wow, it's just so much cheaper. They can get so much more for their money,
Right.
or they actually just get the same type of house, but they're able to bank and set themselves up for financial security later on.
Yeah, I know that's huge. We were just talking with a client that's moving from Florida, and one of the big reasons they're moving is because their homeowner's insurance has skyrocketed. So, and I know when you're escrowing that into your payment, that can make a huge difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And now, do you guys offer the ability to do remote closings?
Absolutely. Remote closings are really the future of closings in so many ways. But yep, they just simply send a notary public, a remote notary over there, and they can use all those documents and close that. Yep,
Hmm.
that's the way of the future.
Yep, absolutely. What do you think buyers often misunderstand about the process?
I think mostly they think they need a bigger down payment than they really need.
Mhm.
For conventional loans, first-time home buyers, the big benefit is you only need 3% for a down payment. So that's much larger than a lot of people think they need 20%, and
Mhm.
they do not. They
Yep.
only need 20% to remove private mortgage insurance. So let's just really get the word out. 3% is all you need for conventional, and only 3.5% if you're going the FHA route.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. People talking about saving up their 20%. And it's like, wait a minute, you don't have to have that much money. If you do, awesome, fantastic. But you can get into a home sooner than you think a lot of times.
Absolutely. I'd say the other thing too is just letting people know that they can use seller credit to help them afford the closing costs and get them into a house way more affordable as well. So that's always the big trick that a lot of people really miss out.
Yeah. Now, along with seller credits, I know sometimes dependent upon the mortgage type, you can only get a certain percentage of the purchase, for seller credits. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. For conventional loans, it's actually tiered. So based on the amount of the down payment that that borrower is bringing. So if they're under 10% for the down payment for conventional loan, they can only get 3% of seller credit. If they're between 10 and 25%, they can get 6%. And then over 25%, they can get 9%. Now, with FHA, it's a flat 6% regardless of the amount of the down payment. For VA loans, it's 4% for the most part. And then even with investors, investors can get 2% for seller credit. And then also USDA can get 6%.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, in our area, what are we looking at for closing costs? Around 3%?
3% is a great benchmark for people to always have. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, what do you think the biggest mistakes out-of-state buyers make?
Oh, I would say out-of-state buyers just don't have a job. You know what I mean? They think that they can quit their job and use the current equity that they have and that they plan on getting a job when they get here and that they can just, buy a house that they think they can afford based on the new job. And that's probably the biggest problem that we have is we're like, no, you've got to have a job to get a mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now I know, some people moving here from states like California probably have enough equity that they can just buy a house outright in cash,
Yep.
which is,
Yep.
phenomenal. But most people are going to need a mortgage, and yeah, you need a job to get a mortgage.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Let's see. What's one thing you wish all out-of-state buyers knew before starting the process?
I would say I wish that they just went ahead and really just made a phone call and talked to people. I think that the biggest thing is they're going to need cash for ancillary things. They don't factor in the cost of moving, you
Mhm.
know, moving trucks, moving services, and things like that. So they can really shortchange themselves and not have enough cash flow. So
Yeah.
usually it's the fact that the cash flow, you need cash to
Yep.
move.
And one of the things here in North Carolina, that people don't necessarily know about when they're moving here is that we are a buyer beware stage. So all of the inspections that you have done when you're in the process of buying a home are at the buyer's expense. I know I had clients move from California and they had to do all of the inspections as the home seller there and then turned around and bought here and had to pay for all of the inspections as the buyer. So they got hit from both sides, but that's a big one. And then also, um, we have something called due diligence here.
Hmm.
And so when we're making an offer, you're making an offer of, how much you want to purchase the home for, but you're also offering a due diligence payment, which is in essence a payment that is, thanking the seller for taking their home off the market for you to do your due diligence or your inspections. Now, granted, that is credited back to you at the closing table, but if you happen to decide to cancel your contract prior to closing, you don't get that money back. So that's kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow coming from other states where they don't have that.
Oh,
Uh,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
they really struggle with that, the
yeah,
concept of that.
yeah.
Yes.
Now everyone's pretty familiar with earnest money because, I think that's pretty standard across the board. Um, but that due diligence payment, people get a little bit concerned about that, about just putting up money without having had the opportunity to do any inspections or anything yet. And so,
Right.
making sure people understand, that process is big, but those are other out-of-pocket upfront expenses that people either may not know about or forget about when factoring in the costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you have any other tips to share with us tonight?
Oh, well, we always have tips to share. We always say, hey, make sure make sure you know what your credit score is. Even if it's Credit Karma, so many people use Credit Karma, which, it can be a little bit different from that, but just really understand that, if you're planning on making a move, go out and check your credit. Make sure you know what your credit score is, because the higher the credit, the higher the chances are of a loan approval and the lower interest rate that you are going to pay. So
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. Always looking at that. I tell everyone, if you're thinking about moving, you go on a gas and groceries budget. Just
yeah,
start saving. Hold some money behind. You're going to need that cash. And so just always go kind of in the gas and groceries and just know what that is. And I would just say, really look at what your payment should be. What do you want your payment? Do some basic budgeting, have an understanding of what you are comfortable with as a mortgage payment, and ask questions. When you're going through the mortgage process, it is your money. It's your
yeah,
money, and you're the one entitled to spend it. So make sure you ask lots of questions to the lender about, what your payment's going to be and all those other things. You know, funds to close, all that, so that
yeah.
you're comfortable with all
I
things.
think that's
We don't like
super.
surprises.
No, not at all. I think that's super important, especially making sure that you're aware of your budget and what you're comfortable paying every month. And while a lot of things may be cheaper here, than they are in other states, it's still a cost, and we want to see our clients be able to stay in their homes. We don't want our clients to come in and have big ideas and then a few years down the road they're no longer able um to afford their property. So okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Positioning people for financial success. That's what
Yeah,
we look at.
yeah. So, if you're thinking about making a move to Hickory or the surrounding areas, let's talk. We love helping out of state buyers find their footing here. And if you've got questions about financing, Megan is your girl. We'll drop her information in the description.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Megan, for coming on with us tonight. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, happy to help anytime, even no matter what the stage is that you're, at. The earlier the stage, the better.
All right. Thanks, Megan. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Bye-bye. At Signature Home Team, we love helping out of state buyers. We know that buying a home from hundreds of miles away can be extremely stressful, so we try to make the process as smooth as possible and keep you educated along the way. So if you're looking to move to Hickory, North Carolina or the surrounding areas, give us a call, 828 222 3646, and keep watching for more tips.